Dana. Hello, Vivian. We're just giving people a few more minutes and then we'll just get started. Okay, it is after 11 my time, so we should get, we'll get some more people coming in. Joining it. That's good. And where are you, Virginia? Where are you tuning in from?
I'm living in Miami, in Florida.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Yep. My mother lived in
Yes.
Longboat Key, Florida for several years. So I went,
Okay. And you? Where do you live?
I'm in Sydney, Australia.
Ah, okay. Okay.
I'm originally from Massachusetts, from Boston. And
Okay.
so I grew up there, and I also lived in Vermont, went to university up in Vermont, and came out to Australia when I was 25, traveling around the world.
Okay. Okay. I just living in the United States since 2 years ago.
Okay.
Before I was living in Mexico for
Mhm.
6 years, and before I was in Venezuela. I'm Venezuelan.
Okay. Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Hello, Sarah. Where are you?
Hello. I'm in Surrey, British Columbia,
Ah,
Canada.
okay. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jean Kropper, and this is Simple Art Therapy Exercises for Stress Relief. Very glad that you're here. And I've wanted to share this because I found it very useful. And as part of my own healing from post-traumatic stress, I did a lot of art exercises to vent emotion and also just to process emotion in different ways. And having learned through my own healing journey where I dealt with many different healing practitioners, they each taught me different exercises that worked for me. And I've incorporated a lot of those exercises and insights into my own practice. So, yeah, I wanted to begin with that. Okay. So we'll have 5 activities that you can do at home, and you can work with either your workbook or just some scrap paper, and either is absolutely fine. Okay. Second here. Yeah. Okay, some of the biggest misconceptions about art therapy that you have to work with a professional to get value from it. I haven't found that to be true. I found, though certainly working with a art therapy professional is absolutely valuable. I found there's many things that I could do myself that just gave me some insights and also were useful exercises as an ongoing thing to manage emotions and to have processes that when you're up and down, that you have things you can do to take care of yourself. So this certainly wasn't true, and that you could absolutely do things by yourself that gave value. Also, you don't have to be able to draw. Many art therapy exercises are about getting things out of your head and getting clarity, making things tangible. So it's not about the quality of art or whether you're skillful. It's not about that at all, which I think you'll see as we go through today. So don't be the least bit worried that you'll be embarrassed or it won't work for you, because that's not what art therapy is about. It's about having different processes to play around with, to vent emotions, to express emotions, and to get clearer about things. Yeah, and the third misconception is that you won't get any clear insights from it by yourself. And I found that I do regularly. And as I went through my own healing process, I often did collages and drawing and would get all sorts of insights. And sometimes when you do art therapy exercises, sometimes you come back to it a few days later and you see a new perspective on what you did before. And so you go, oh, wow, I didn't see how bleak that was, how positive it was, or that insight about my brother, or all sorts of things that you can get clear about just from going through different processes. Okay. Go on a little further here. Okay, so we're going to do 5 different exercises. The first one, sorry, we've just gone past that. I didn't mean to do that. First one is called Overthinkers Offload. which is a way of letting go of what's in your head. And this one I find, yeah, very useful when I've got so much going on in my head. I find it hard to begin. I don't quite know where to begin. And it's also, yeah, your to-do list seems so long and you're just feeling overwhelmed and you need to get a bit more clarity and find a way to clear your head so that you can get started on what you actually need to do today. So that's what that's about. Meditative Drawing and Body Scan Blueprint are the first three. Okay, when you're feeling stressed, let's see, I'll just go along with this. You can learn skills to release it. So that's one of the things we're working on today. When you're feeling stressed, you can learn different skills to let go of that stress. And I've found in talking to other people, both on LinkedIn and in person, that a lot of people who are very productive really manage themselves. It's not that they're magically healthier or their lives work better somehow. It's that they stop during the day and they meditate, or they stop during the day and they do a bit of breath work, or they do some art therapy exercises, or whatever it is they need to do to stay sane. So it was really quite interesting to me that people, yeah, who are productive generally are doing quite a bit of work, interrupting their day, saying, how am I now? Tuning in with themselves. And if they've got a lot going on, they actually deal with that emotion before they go on with their work. And I think that was reassuring, because we often think that it must be easier for other people. It can't be this hard for everyone else. And finding out that other people do struggle and other people do need to do active things to process emotions and to handle daily stress, to me is really quite reassuring, because then we're all having to take care of ourselves to get through our days, to get through our weeks, to manage the responsibilities that we have. And yes, you don't need to be a professional to do art therapy. You can absolutely have a go on your own. And I don't mean that in any way to be negative towards art therapists. It's wonderful to work with others who are professionals and learn from them, but you can also do things on your own. So art therapy is good for expressing feelings, particularly that have no words. So if you've been through trauma, sometimes there are things you can talk about, and sometimes you can't get words out, or trauma may have been at a time where you either didn't have words or things were so shocking that you weren't processing it by being able to talk about it. There's no right way to do art therapy. So there's many processes that I've just played around with, and that's what I want to encourage you with today. And to just start giving you some options, some language around doing art therapy exercises, and just showing you that there's lots of ways to begin. You can gain clarity and insight from art therapy exercises. I remember doing some, I had a frozen shoulder some years ago, and I started drawing the head and shoulders, and then started imagining, what are the things that are on my shoulders right now? What am I carrying? And I started realizing how much I felt like I was responsible for. And then I thought, okay, I need to think about what those responsibilities are, and can I offload some of them or process the emotion around some of those? And that could help my healing, which it did. Okay, so Overthinkers Offload is the first one that we'll do here. You've got a page in your workbook for this. If you don't have the workbook, then you can just use a blank piece of paper. Now, I just need to figure out how to turn the volume off on this. There we go. So I can talk to you instead of the video. Yep, okay. All right, Overthinkers Offload is an exercise that I find really useful when you've just got so much going on in your head. You're starting to feel overwhelmed, or you're just hitting a wall where there's too many things going on and you're just having a trouble even beginning. So you can start by either drawing the outline of a head, and I'll just show you that. And what we're going to do is then write down all the things that are going on in your head. So just doing a brain dump of all the thoughts, worries, to-do lists, anxiety, all that sort of stuff. And I'll just show you what we're doing here. So we can draw either the outline of a head, which is what I've done here. I'll just show you that. Just a curve on the back of the head. And again, don't worry about this looking anything near realistic or good. Mine isn't particularly good drawing either. That's not the point. It's about the thought process that goes with it. So you can draw a head like that, but you can also just do a big thought bubble and a stick figure. I'll just show you that. Big thought bubble and a little stick figure symbolizing you and all the stuff in your head. And this helps with getting all the stuff that's going on in your unconscious or behind the scenes, just let someone else in, and making it conscious. So sometimes there are 20 things going on in your head, and you're not really cognizant of all the stuff that's going on. And once you write it all down, then it's really clear why you're stressed. And you go, wow, yeah, actually, I'm dealing with a lot right now. You can forgive yourself, and it makes sense more when you are aware of what's going on. So go ahead and write down all the busy thoughts, worries, to-do list, anxieties, all the things in your head, and just dump them on the paper. I'll just give you a few minutes for that. And for me, this was people I needed to call, bills I needed to pay, routine stuff around the house, to just get it out of your head for a little while. And no one else needs to see this, so don't worry about writing clearly or writing well. It's not about that at all. Just about getting things out of your head and down on paper. And just wave at the camera when you're mostly done. Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, so then look at your list, and first of all, just acknowledge how much is there. And if you've got a lot of things going on right now, just pat yourself on the back for having that and managing that. Secondly, look at it and see if there are any things that really aren't your responsibility, and just cross them off. And cross off things that you have no effect on, that actually somebody else is in charge of, but you can't change it. Because sometimes you need to just acknowledge that and let go of the things that, yes, you're thinking about them, but you can't change them. You're not responsible for them, so you got to let them go. Perfectly valid to think about them, but we can't be in control of everything. And then just look at the list and see what in that list is actually things that are urgent and that you can do something about today. So just pick out the action items that are there that need to be handled today. And it might be just 3 or 4 things, but just put those on another sheet of paper. So anything that's urgent and you need to go into action on those, just put those things on another piece of paper. Great. Okay. So at this point, your list should have, it's probably got a lot of things crossed off on it and just a few things that you actually need to manage. So that helps giving some clarity. You can acknowledge that all those things are going on, but that you actually don't need to handle a bunch of those. Those are things you need to let go of. So that leaves you with a much smaller to-do list. And then you can physically take this list, you can rip it up, you can crumple it up, and just let it go. And it's really helpful to just physically let it go, just crumple it up and get rid of it, because then you can symbolically say, hey, I'm going to let that go. I'm going to stop worrying about that for now. And that's a way of getting clear about what you actually need to take charge of. Brilliant to see people ripping things up or tearing them up, and just physically letting it go. And that can anchor in your brain, hey, I don't need to do anything else with these details right now. I can let those go. Because then you've got a much shorter list that actually feels manageable. It's okay, I'm going to get those 3 or 4 things done today, but the rest I'm just going to let go. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, this one's meditative drawing. With all these things, when I do them in workshops, we do a little more background, we take a little more time, we talk about the insights from this. In this, we're zooming through them and just having a look at all these possibilities. So in a larger workshop situation, we'd be going into more depth, but this gives you a taste of all these processes that you can start to use for yourself. Okay, meditative drawing is about focusing on really simple drawing and something that's simple and repetitive. I'll just have some water. And by choosing to focus on the drawing and letting go of the rest of other things that are going on in your life, it gives your brain a rest, excuse me, and allows you to just have one thing to focus on. I'm just going to draw a few little marks that we can use. And you can do any sort of drawing on this you like, but I'm just giving you some examples so that you're not thinking, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do here? And especially if you don't have a lot of art skills, I don't want you to feel like this is unachievable. It's very achievable what we're doing here. And turn off other devices while we're doing this, and just pretend that just for now, this is the most important thing in the world, and allow yourself to just focus on one thing, because then it gives your brain some time to calm down and allow yourself to be a bit bored so your brain and your nervous system can quiet down. Now, I'm just going to draw a squiggly doodle, and that gives me a shape to color in. So you can draw any sort of squiggle that you like. You can just see what I'm doing and copy that, or you can do something similar. So I'm just doing a big wiggly drawing. And that gives me sort of a grid that I can color in. I'm just going to pause for a moment here and take a few gentle, even breaths through the nose and breathe very slowly in and very slowly out. Just not so much deep breaths, but just very gentle, slow breaths. And if you're breathing in and out through your nose, that just helps calm the nervous system a bit more. So just breathing in and breathing out. Just breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. Okay, all right, that just gives us a moment in a busy day to just allow ourselves to settle. Okay, look back at your drawing, and we're going to pick a couple colors of markers if you have them, or just one color, that's fine too. And take some of those marks and just start filling in some of the shapes in the doodle, some spaces in the grid. And just focus on what you're doing, on making marks. Hello, Beatrice. We're just at meditative drawing. And slowly just start filling in the grid. And again, just act as if this is the only thing that matters in the world, and just focus on this. Psychologists call this co-regulation, where we all slow down together and we all just support each other in just being here, just hanging out with making marks. And just notice what it feels like, how much texture there is to the paper when you're drawing, and how much resistance the marker feels. And just slowly build up the pattern inside your grid. And you can make any marks that you like. It doesn't have to be what I'm doing. Just filling up the grid. We're just going to be doing this for about 10 minutes. Sometimes I find when I've been busy and I start slowing down, I get ferociously bored and I think I have to do something else. And it's actually really useful to stay with that, to work through the boredom with that restlessness. It's usually a sign of stress. Just allow yourself to stay with the activity. And just pick different shapes and slowly draw. I'm drawing some stripes. And see how it feels to make marks on paper. And that this is all you need to do right now. All the other things going on in the world, you can just let them go for this short time. And give yourself the gift of some quiet time here. Whatever marks you like, you can fill them in. And sometimes you might make marks that correspond to what you're feeling. It might be, this is anxiety, or this is what's going on in my stomach, or you can scribble, or you can do dots, you can do anything you like. Just to pick a simple mark and reproduce it over. And allow your brain just to focus on that for a little while. When I do meditative drawing classes, each session has different creative prompts. We're making very different drawings each time, so that does keep our brain interested. And we end up with all different sorts of artworks at the end of it. And this is just a taste of that. And then I'm just going to draw some little spirals. And your artworks will all be different, and that's just fine. And just allow yourself to calm down. Let your energy just drop a little. And if you're feeling restless, just acknowledge that and stay with this anyway. And just notice your body calming down a little bit. Wonderful. Good. We're just going to stay with this for a few more minutes. But remember that you can turn your drawings around to reach different areas of it. That's just fine, however is easiest for you. Often during the day, we're very active and we can get anxious or have depression or grief or frustration going on. It's very important to just slow down every once in a while and just allow your nervous system to calm down. Sometimes we don't notice what stress we're under or what emotions are going on for us until we just pause. Okay, so this is my finished drawing. And you can just take a few more minutes to play with what you're doing. And after our session is over, you can keep drawing for a while and finish off whatever you're doing there. Okay, great. Anyone want to share their drawing? You don't have to. There's absolutely no requirement. Okay, Kathy, just hold it still for a minute and see if I can. There we go. Hang on. Yep, there we go. Thank you. Yep. Okay. And I'll see if I can just unpin you now. Right, there we go. Yep. Okay, and Marina, thank you. And yep. Okay, great. Yeah. Yep. All different. That's terrific. Yep. Thank you. Okay. And one more, Beatrice. Yep. Okay, just a second. I will show. Yeah, great. Yep. Because this isn't about good or bad. It's just having fun with playing around with the drawing. Thank you. All right, we'll go on to the next one. This is called Body Scan Blueprint. I've been doing a lot of reading about mind body and that the mind and the body really aren't separate. I suppose one of the things that's reminded me of this is how sometimes you're hungry and you end up feeling really grumpy, but you've forgotten that you're hungry. Then you eat lunch or something and you feel so much better. And then you think, I was just grumpy because I was hungry. Sometimes we get out of whack and we just forget what's going on for us. This is an exercise, I call it Body Scan Blueprint, to tune into our own bodies and check in. We're going to do a drawing that looks very much like a gingerbread person. I don't know if you made gingerbread cookies as a kid, but I remember making those with my mom. So we're just drawing the image of a body like a gingerbread cookie. And if you've got the worksheet, then that's on there. But just the shape of a body, very simple. We're not trying to do anything elegant. And we're going to scan the body and tune into ourselves and check in with what's going on. First, again, it's good to take a few breaths and just settle into the body and notice what's going on for you. And we can do things unconsciously, grind our teeth or tap your feet or other things like that you forget you're even doing them. So this is the time to scan the body and think about that for a few minutes. Check in, are your shoulders tense? Or did you go to the gym today and your muscles are humming because you've got all this energy going through you? Or a little bit of sore muscles after a run or an aerobics class? Are there any aches and pains? Somehow it's easier to tune into aches and pains first than other things. But think about what's going on in your body. What we're going to do here is make marks on this drawing that correspond to what's going on for you. So you've just practiced doing a bunch of marks. These marks don't mean anything specific, but they can be used for registering or acknowledging what's going on in your body right now. There's absolutely no right or wrong. We're not going to share these drawings, but just what's going on for you. Do you have tight shoes and you're aware of your toes? All those sorts of things. So just to make some marks on this that correspond to whatever's going on for you. So for me, I've got a bit of tension in my shoulders, so I'm just going to make some marks there. It's not looking like tension or it doesn't correspond to anything, but just saying that's what's one thing that's going on for me. And so check in with your stomach, your shoulders, your throat. Yeah, and I've just been digesting. So I've had some morning tea and just aware of my stomach. And how are your knees? How are your thighs? Your ankles, your feet? And your head? Is there tension there? Do you clench your jaw? And you could make marks that correspond to that. I've just got a tiny bit of tension in my temples. So I'm just going to make some little marks on the side of the head. Not a headache, but just an awareness there. So make any marks on this picture that correspond to what's going on for you right now. Yeah, and I've got some tension in my hands because I've been doing lots of computer work and editing videos. So those scribbles on the hands are just the tension that's in my hands at the moment. But my arms feel quite fluid. So they put some marks. So this is about awareness. Take a couple more minutes to notice. Sometimes when we slow down, you notice things that when you're charging through your day, you don't register those things. And it's very useful to just stop. And sometimes when I'm doing this, I go, oh yeah, that's right. I've been meaning to go to the dentist for 3 weeks. I've got a bit of an aching tooth, or those sorts of little things that checking in is important. It's about taking care of you and just noticing. Okay, so we're going to just move on in just a second. Yeah. You must have some wonderfully weird drawings. And we can chat about that at the end. Check in. Yeah, you might have a sense of energy in your thighs from being at the gym, all those sorts of things that you could make different sorts of lines, different sorts of marks to register different sorts of feelings. Okay, we'll go on to the next bit. Okay, this next part is continuing this and doing a second drawing, but this time imagining you're all well and whole and energized. You may be that already, and that's super. But sometimes there are things that we want to just, as a positive exercise, saying, okay, now I'm going to acknowledge where I am now. And it's important to acknowledge what is going on, not to deny things, but then also just to visualize the body as whole and well and energized. So you can draw another gingerbread person and you can make some marks on it to imagine everything whole. And this is particularly good exercise if you're about to do surgery, if you're healing from something, if you have an injury, and just visualize that as whole and imagine those knees being fluid and strong and well, or your shoulders not being tense, and just spend a few minutes sitting with that, imagining your body to be as you'd like it to be. So I'll just give you 2 minutes to do that, and then we'll move on. You can do detailed drawings of these with lots of color or just plain. Yeah, that's good. And then you can put your two drawings side by side and just notice what's different about them, what's going on now, and how you'd like things to be. And imagine the energy, things flowing. So these are exercises that you can do anytime when you're in stress, or you can do them regularly. You might go to the gym or do other exercises just as a checking in, just a healthy way to check in and say, okay, what's going on for me today? And to be conscious about that rather than unconscious. And often when you do check in more often, it's easier to manage your stress and interrupt it before things get out of hand, so you don't get overwhelmed. Okay, just checking in. Are people ready to move on? Just wave at the camera if you are. Okay, wonderful. Well, that's delightful. Okay, all right. We're on number 5. which is the last one. And this is called Drawing Calm. And this is an exercise I actually do quite frequently. It's very simple, but it's about slowing yourself down and just paying attention to doing some drawing. And I'll show you what I mean. So we're just starting with the page in the workbook or a blank piece of paper, and just taking one marker, one color, and drawing very slow, loopy lines. And it takes some focus to do this. So letting go of the world, letting go of other things that are going on, but focusing on making smooth curves, loopy lines all over the page. And you can do 1 or 2 pages of this, whatever suits, but really slowing down. If you're anxious, you might make all sorts of wild scribbles. This, at the moment, we're just focusing on drawing calm, of allowing yourself to slow down and forcing yourself to slow down. And drawing smooth lines takes a certain amount of focus and just staying with what you're doing. So just drawing very smooth curves. And if you like, you can hum. And I've read up on humming, and it's absolutely fascinating. But humming stimulates the immune system. And it's something that they tell people who are going through cancer treatment to do. And it also calms the nervous system. It's really quite amazing. Humming activates the parasympathetic nervous system and moves you out of fight or flight into calm. And yeah, humming while you're drawing and just breathing through your nose can genuinely help your body calm down. So see if you can just fill 1 or 2 pages. And I try to just keep my marker moving slowly, because then you don't get any blobby bits. Sometimes when I'm doing this, when I'm stressed, I find it very difficult. And that's, to me, just a way of checking in, a way of seeing, okay, yeah, I find this really hard today. And that's information. That's just useful to know. And other times I find it very easy to just slow down, and I can just draw the loopy, slow lines. And it's quite easy to calm myself. I'll just let you draw for a few minutes. And sometimes I do this with a very light color and then a dark color over the top. And you can make all sorts of lovely patterns. And so again, none of these about being a good artist. It's just using art as a process to quiet down your brain and to calm your nervous system. I'll just stop sharing. Wonderful. Good. So I just welcome any comments. I suppose you can just maybe wave at unmute yourself or wave at the camera, and I'd be glad to hear some feedback and what that was like for you. Anyone want to be brave and make any comments? Beatrice, go ahead.
It's surprisingly calming, because when I joined, I had just been working on my taxes, and that was why I was late. I totally lost track of time running around trying to find documents and things. And yeah, it's the shift in mood from when I joined till now is incredible. I feel so much better, stable, calmer. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, great. Good. Yep. Who else would like to get some feedback? Bola? Sure. Do you want to unmute yourself? Be glad to hear.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, thank you.
I just speaking of shift, I found it disconcerting to try to shift from the body scan blueprint to the visualizing well. I feel like, at least for me, I'm probably going to require a longer transition period between the two because I got stuck on the things I had noticed and had difficulty imagining the wellness side of things.
Yep. Okay, great. Yep. Yeah. And that might be easier if we had longer time to dive into that. But yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah. And where are you tuning in from as well?
I'm in Southern California.
Okay, great. Okay. Thanks. Yep. Who else would like to? Janice, do you want to speak?
Sure, yeah, I enjoyed doing the one continuous line of drawing and focusing on just one thing at a time. I have COVID now and my whole life is turning upside down for various reasons. And so it was very calming to my mind to focus on one thing at a time. And I feel like the continuous line is helpful for that because can be easy to distract if you're doing a drawing and then doing something else and then drawing. Anyway, yeah, it's always helpful to draw.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. I wish you well. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Let's see. Kathy, do you want to say something? Kathy Ward? Anyone else? Kathy, are you there?
Works through my earbuds. Is that better?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, as I think I've put in the comment there, I'm a scout leader and the benefit for children is great. The slow drawing, just that calming down. I've got one child, I'm going to really focus on this as a just calm, let's just do this and just calm down. He's quite crazy, loud, a little bit too physical for the other children. So I think this will be just the slow drawing particularly, but other things as well. They're quite intuitive, this particular age group that I'm considering this term, but I think it'll be really beneficial for him to just do that calm drawing exercise.
Yeah. And many of these things, there's nothing really complicated about it. And teaching children to tune into themselves in this way is a really helpful mental health practice and allows them to grow up with some of these skills that, hey, we all need, but we often aren't taught these sorts of things to manage emotions. Yeah. Thanks. Dulcie, do you want to say anything?
Hi, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I've had cancer previously, breast cancer, so I don't know, there might be others that can relate to that feeling of your mind just being all over the place. So that was a few years ago. So I'm finding that I've done a few art therapy sessions previously as well, and I've found that thing of the continuous drawing definitely has helped with just slowing the mind down completely to let go. But yeah, that's been really useful for me, I can say. Thank you for that.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and it's really useful to see where people use this. So thank you. Yeah. Joseph, do you want to say anything?
I'm just going to repeat what everybody else said. The continuous drawing one, for whatever reason, was extremely relaxing. Yeah, I found it very calming. So definitely going to take that one and use it often.
Okay, great. Yep. Where are you tuning in from, by the way?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
In the
great.
States.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone else want to comment? I can't see everybody. Okay, Virginia, do you want to go ahead?
I was really worried about Hurricane Milton that's arriving in Florida. But with this exercise, I feel more, I think, more focused in the true information, especially. It was really good for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. And these are genuine things that I use regularly. And I'll just repeat that I've found people who are very productive, a lot of business people actually do a lot of these things on a regular basis to manage themselves during, their days, their weeks. And I guess I didn't really realize that, and felt I need to stop and meditate for 20 minutes. Am I weird about that? Or is it, that I'm particularly distressed or whatever? And no, these are kinds of things that really are valuable to manage yourself through your day, and to say, whoa, yeah, my brain's exploding. Why don't I just do that drawing of the thinking bubble and the stick person and just do a brain dump? That it's really a very healthy practice to do these sorts of things on an ongoing basis to take care of yourselves. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. And Denise, did you want to say something?
Yes, Jane, it's probably a minor point, but I find that most markers they have an aroma that annoys me. This thing I can use, if I like crayons, I can use crayons. If I like colored pencils, I can use colored pencils. If I want to go through and use my pastel, whatever's they are, chalks, that as long as I'm doing something to help get it out, that's the key. The medium of the marker isn't the linchpin, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And also, just to check, there are different kinds of markers. There's solvent-based markers that definitely have a strong smell. The water-based ones have much less of a smell. But your point is absolutely, I appreciate you bringing that up, because, yeah, you can do this with a pen, a pencil, a pastel, whatever you like. So you're right in always tailor these exercises to work for you, and do whatever it is that you need to do to make that work. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to make a comment?
This is Jackie. I wanted to make a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
When you talk about that, you find that a lot of other people are actually doing many things, self-help little things throughout their day. Do you find it's a product of COVID that people are finding more ways to break up their day and break up the monotony and kind of deal with their stress? Or do you find that it was the same way prior to COVID?
That's a great question. I guess I don't really know the answer to that. I think a lot of people have become more aware because COVID put us under a huge amount of pressure. We were stuck at home. We had more time to go inward because our outward lives weren't as busy. And we were forced to deal with a lot stronger emotions, a lot of fear and frustration and all sorts of things that were going on in our different situations. I think that was probably the pressure cooker that made more people aware of the need for that. And I suppose, to me, the good side of that is that more people are saying, oh, okay, I need some new tools. I need some new routines to take care of me. And it certainly could be that a lot of people were doing things like this anyway, and occasionally I would have stopped and done 15-minute meditation during the day, just because I had so much going on and I was trying to go from one task to another and my brain just wasn't ready. I needed a pause in between. But I think COVID has, because the stress was so high, a lot more people said, I need to learn some skills to manage myself. So I think it was the excuse for that. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yep. And hey, anybody who needs to leave now, that's just fine. We're just wrapping up and checking in. Anyone else want to bring up a point? Yeah. Okay. Hey, I'd just like to say thanks to everyone. I've got one more webinar in 2 weeks, on the 23rd in Australia and the 22nd in the US. And I'll send you an invitation since you came to this one, but you're very welcome to come back. And I'm really glad that you were here. And yeah, if you want to put any comments in chat, I'd be glad to hear your feedback. And please, if you've got suggestions or things that could have been done differently or better for you, feel free to speak up about those too, because those are actually very useful, just like the comments about the markers. Those are very useful to get feedback, things to include that I might not have thought of. So both your positive and suggestion comments are very useful.
Thank you, Jen. I really enjoyed this.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And it's just been delightful to see everybody's faces. Sometimes I do webinars and you can't see anyone.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's great that everybody's sharing their faces. Can I ask how you put together your webinar? Because sometimes we're looking at the drawing, right? And sometimes we're looking at you. How do you have two cameras? How does that work?
No, I've got one camera, but you can share screen. So what I do with workshops is I shoot a video ahead of time because then when I'm during the workshop, I can't focus on both drawing and on the teaching at the same time. And when I've
Right.
seen art workshops where they're trying to do the art live, they always make mistakes and then they apologize for the mistakes. And I thought, no, that doesn't work. So I shoot the video ahead of time and then I turn off the volume and I just teach live over a video. So that allows me to engage with questions and what's going on in the room as well as teach. But it's just about sharing screen for going back and forth between me and slides. I combine slides with video, and I've learned to edit video so I can put those together for a presentation. And then you can turn off screen sharing, and then you get me back again.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Sure, sure.
Jane, is that your artwork behind you?
Yes, yes, it is.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And just very briefly, I also teach a 30-day meditative drawing workshop that has all these different skills inside it. And I'll be launching that in beginning of November, probably just after the US election. And that has a live session each week. And then it's got a whole bunch of pre-recorded sessions on different things like these different sorts of exercises, grounding exercises, a bit about meditation, a bit about some key points from different books that gave some insights that were really useful. I've done a lot of research in the last 5 years about trauma, recovering from trauma, neuroscience, metacognitive therapy, and parasympathetic nervous system, all the ways that we can calm ourselves down and stay sane and be focused. And just amazing things like I read 2 books, very detailed books about research into breathwork and found out that breathing through your nose is much, much better than breathing through your mouth. In Western cultures, we often just breathe through our mouth, but for many cultures, they even teach babies to breathe through their nose. And when you breathe through your nose, it filters out viruses and bacteria better. It's healthier for the body, and it also calms the nervous system, and you take in 18% more oxygen. Just reading some of those things, you think, wow, I didn't know that. And many cultures, when babies are very small, they just gently pinch the lips together and teach babies to breathe through their nose. And I'd never even heard that before. Sometimes we lose knowledge that's actually been around for centuries. And it's really interesting to learn from that and go, wow. And I have had trouble with insomnia just because of post-traumatic stress. And breathing through the nose also improves your sleep. And over 2 weeks during the day, whenever I thought about breathing, I just, close my mouth and say, okay, Jean, breathe through your nose, and 2 weeks later, I found I was sleeping better. So some of those sorts of tidbits I've put into the meditative drawing workshop because it's amazing just thinking, okay, just think about breathing through your nose, and that can make a very big difference in lowering anxiety and improving sleep. And those sorts of things can really make life easier, gentler, and make you more productive when you learn some of those things. So those are the kinds of things that I've included in the workshop, as well as the fun stuff of drawing together and giving you all sorts of creative ideas for very simple drawings that you can have fun doing.
And Jean, to enroll for the month-long program, how does that work?
I'll send you an email in November and just tell you a bit about that. It's all online. I think there's 5 live sessions, and then the others are pre-recorded that you do anytime that suits you. So yeah, that'll be coming up in November.
Okay.
So I'll send you a link to that. Yeah. But thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your coming, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.